episode of Firepower, enter the secret world of aerial surveillance. Board the amazing SR-71 Blackbird and orbit the Earth with a KH-11 intelligence-gathering satellite. Highly classified pilots flying dangerous spy missions. The future of espionage is here. Space Spies.
The first military use of aircraft, including balloons and early biplanes, was for aerial reconnaissance. With the advent of nuclear-armed intercontinental weapons during the Cold War years of the 1950s, strategic intelligence became vital to national security. Desperate for intelligence on the highly secret Soviet programs, the United States began development of the first specialized high-altitude strategic reconnaissance aircraft, the legendary Lockheed U-2. The U-2 and its current version, the TR-1, U-2 was not invulnerable. By 1960, the Soviets had developed the new SA-2 guideline missile, which was capable of reaching the U-2's flight path high in the stratosphere. In May 1960, a CIA U-2, piloted by Francis Gary Powers, was shot down in the Central Soviet Union by an SA-2 missile. President Eisenhower ordered U-2 flights over the Soviet Union suspended, an order which has remained in effect until today. But the value of spy Oleg Penkovsky, who was spying for Britain and the United States. Penkovsky supplied the West with manuals for two new nuclear-armed missiles, the R-12 and the R-14. In October 1962, U-2s flying over western Cuba took these pictures of new construction. Air Force analysts quickly realized that they resembled the launch pads shown in Penkovsky's manuals. Low-altitude missions by RF-101 spy planes brought back even more detail. They showed the launch pads and nuclear storage facilities of the missiles. It was this evidence that led President John F. Kennedy to blockade Cuba and force the Soviet Union to remove the missiles. The Ox-Cart program resulted in the most sophisticated spy plane ever developed, the legendary SR-71. Even today, 25 years after it first flew, the SR-71 Blackbird is remarkably futuristic. It was the first designed to incorporate stealth features in order to reduce its visibility to radars. It is still the fastest jet aircraft in the world, with speeds up to Mach 4, nearly 3,000 miles an hour.
Well, it's the fastest aircraft in the world and the highest flying aircraft in the world. We hold the absolute altitude records and the absolute speed records.
Every mission that this aircraft flies, it essentially goes to Mach 3 and 80,000 feet. F-111s are designed to fly low level. SR-71s are designed to fly high altitude and very fast.
And contract when cooled down. When on the ground before flight, fuel can leak out from small gaps in the structure. But as the SR-71 builds up speed, the titanium skin of the aircraft expands, tightening up the structure for the high-speed environment.
It's just like going into a big oven, because you're creating friction on the aircraft, stretching it out, and then sealing itself together. When it's sitting on the ground, it's all cooled off. So when he comes down, he flies in the pattern, and he also cools himself off. So it kind of goes back to the shape it's in now.
Like many highly secret espionage systems, the SR-71 has had numerous code names over the years. The CIA originally called the project Ox-Cart, and the Air Force called it Senior Crown. It eventually became known as Blackbird due to its paint scheme. But the name popular with many of its crew is Habu.
It is a nickname in the SR-71 community. The Okinawans have a nighttime, venomous, and very quick snake that only comes out at night and goes back before morning. When we first started operating over there in the mid-60s, the local Ryukyans started naming us the Habu because we seemed to operate in the same parameters as the snake.
The missions flown by the SR-71 are top secret. But from historical records, we can get some sense of the type of missions the SR-71 Atlantic at over Mach 3. Over the Azores, it dropped down in altitude to meet up with a KC-135 tanker to refuel. It climbed to 80,000 feet again, nearing Crete, for another aerial refueling. Its main mission was a 25-minute pass over the battlefields in the Suez Canal area, then turning to pass over the Golan Heights, where heavy fighting was taking place. With its photos secured, it then passed back out over the Mediterranean and headed for home. The entire mission covered 11,000 miles of travel. Ten times higher than spy planes like the SR-71 or U-2. The first space spy was the American Corona photographic satellite, also known by its cover name, Discoverer. Neither the CIA nor its Soviet counterpart released films or photos of their spy satellite, so for this program, we have recreated these highly classified spy machines using the best available data. The Corona satellite contained a high-resolution camera in its main compartment. Once its pictures were taken, the film was fed into a special compartment in the nose, and the nose cone ejected back to Earth. After it entered the Earth's atmosphere, Corona was followed by the K-8 conditions. In addition, it could electronically transmit images back to Earth without the need for the special film capsules. The Soviet Union soon followed the United States with its own photo satellites, beginning with the Cosmos 4 in April 1962. As in the case of the American spy satellites, the Soviet satellites evolved with improved capabilities, gradually becoming able to take photos with greater and greater resolution. But just how good is the quality of the images available from modern spy satellites?
The resolution of our float-in satellites is not, contrary to popular opinion, good enough to read license plates on cars, nor to be able to distinguish between one mullah from another by the cut of his beard. That is not true. Resolution has reached its theoretical limit on a system like the KH-11, which is about 3.5 inches. But there are also atmospheric perturbations which change that. And even though they have ways of compensating for some of that, on the bird, as well as on the ground, with the way they manipulate the digital imagery, it is still not 3.5 inches. It is somewhere between 5 and 6. That is as good as it gets from an altitude of 125 or 130 miles shooting straight down. It's about a foot when you shoot from 500 miles. The imagery that we took of the Soviet aircraft carrier, which was in James, in July of '84, the obliques were taken from 504 miles, and looking at the picture, it might as well have been taken from a Cessna at 5 miles. I mean, you can see windows very clearly and all kinds of stuff on the deck of the carrier. I mean, they got an incredible intelligence yield from that kind of stuff. But it is not license plate Bill. No, it isn't.
Photo satellites were soon followed by radar surveillance satellites called RORSATs, or Radar Ocean Reconnaissance Satellite. A major problem with photographic satellites is that they cannot easily penetrate cloud cover. This is not a problem when surveying stationary objects like missile silos, which can be photographed some other day when the clouds are absent. But surveillance of moving objects like warships requires constant tracking in all weather. This led to the development of the first radar satellites, the RORSATs. The radars on these satellites cannot provide the precise images of photographic satellites, but they are able to keep track of fleet movements, no matter what the weather conditions. The next leap forward in photographic spy satellite technology came in 1976 with the launch of America's keyhole KH-11 satellite. The KH-11 could digitally transmit very high-resolution photos in real time. The intelligence agencies no longer had to wait for the return of a film capsule in order to obtain high-grade imagery. This was enormously useful in tracking the course of rapidly changing developments, such as the Iran-Iraq War or the war in Chad in the 1980s.
The changed capabilities in reconnaissance satellites, photo reconnaissance satellites, from 1960 when they started until now have been fundamental. Obviously, resolution has gotten better, but more important was the development of real-time capability. Indeed, there are two very important developments in terms of reconnaissance satellite capability. One is, as I said, real-time, which means that we can get information virtually as it occurs. As a matter of fact, in 1985, there was a party at CIA headquarters to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the first discovered satellite, and then CIA Director William Casey showed photographs at 2:30 in the afternoon that had been taken over the Soviet Union at 10:30 that morning, 4 hours later, which was a kind of cute touch to make the point that real-time was an extremely important development. The other is radar reconnaissance, which came into play with the advent of the satellite that used to be called La Crosse. Radar reconnaissance allows them to see through clouds and virtually any kind of weather. So between real-time imagery, delivering the stuff very quickly, Flash Gordon, if you want to, and the radar stuff, we've got quite a good capability.
Besides their use in collecting photos or radar images, satellites are widely used to gather many other forms of intelligence. Modern weapon systems emit many different types of electronic signals from their radars, radios, and other electronic systems. These signals can be picked up in space and then transmitted back to Earth for analysis by sophisticated computers.
The primary other system is called SIGINT, or Signals Intelligence, and what those satellites do is listen. Most of them are parked at geosynchronous orbit, which is 22,300 miles out, so they can stay over one spot on the Earth as it turns, and they essentially listen. They've got very, very powerful antennas, and we have got very powerful stuff on the ground that picks it up. So they listen, in the case of Rhyolite, to 11,000 telephone calls simultaneously. And then at the National Security Agency, they sort out, by using programmed code words in their computers, they sort out what they need. We also use so-called Defense Support System satellites, which are technically supposed to warn us of missile attack to follow missile tests, including air, ground, and sea-launched cruise missiles. they're also parked at a geosynchronous orbit, and we can watch virtually all of the missile tests with those machines. We've got satellites that do radar work, measuring the kind of pulses their radars give off. So in the event of war, we know how to avoid them. So there are any number of such systems that are not photographic.
Superpowers by removing suspicions about their military preparations.
There is no national security without them. They are now so pervasive and so important that it's unthinkable that there would be national security without them. They're used everywhere for a wide variety of things, and it's unimaginable that we wouldn't use them now.